the MTPredictor weekly market update for August 17th. So we had our sell-off in the S&P. Now this is the weekly chart of the ES, and you can see the sell-off here. In terms of the weekly chart, pretty shallow, similar to this little correction back here. This one was a little deeper, another shallow one. You can see we haven't tested. This is the red line. It's the 50-period moving average. Below that's the 200-period. You can see it's been since November of 2012 since we've even tested the 50-period weekly moving average. So if I check the analysis here, you can see we came into a wave 4, and high volume spike came in, followed by the blue buyers candle there in the wave 4, and then last week we headed out of wave 4 heading into potential wave 5, and I'll just project that up here. So from this picture it looks fairly clear that we may see ES 2000 eventually. Now this minimum wave 5 target will come in below that around what is that, 1988 we'll call it. You're going to have some decision point resistance also up here in this area here. Again, maybe just shy of ES 2000. But if you look at the daily chart here, and the daily chart, so here was our sell signal that I gave a number of weeks ago. All right, we hit the target, went through the target here. We've rallied back to the 50-period moving average. Basically, again, this is that value area, so we anticipate this is where all the buying has been done over the last few years. Below the 50 period, above the 200 period, that's that value area. So no surprise to see buying in there. Question is now, we ended the week, of course it was options expiration Friday, we ended the week with a red sellers candle. We have an indication that sellers were actually overcoming buyers. There was some high volume activity, indicating unusual volume activity. Well, not too big of a surprise on an options expiration, but this unfolds in the wave 2 or B area here. I think if we break below the low of Friday's low, I should say. Friday's low came in at 1937.25. I think if we break that low, then we're probably heading lower. I don't know that maybe down to 1900. I don't know that we'll actually test the lows there, but we'll see. On the other end, if they take out the highs, then maybe that weekly scenario continues to play out, and we make a run, at least maybe testing this high, and maybe eventually that ES 2000 up here where the weekly resistance is. Now when we look at the DAX, I'm going to go to the weekly chart of the DAX here, because remember the DAX had that 5-wave pattern up here. The decision point sell signal hasn't reached the target yet, so it's still out there, that 87.6620. And you can see not quite the bounce that we saw in the S&P, and you can see the DAX ended the week a lot lower than where the S&P on the weekly closed. Would be somewhere up in here if you compare them. So DAX may be a little weaker, maybe still wants to reach that target before it gets a bounce off of that level, so we'll watch for that. Here is the monthly chart of silver, and you can see overall this goes back, let's say 95 here, but silver prices overall you can see have been moving higher over the last couple of decades anyway, and you'll notice that pattern's very similar if we look at some of the other commodities here. I think this is sugar here. This goes back around the same time, 95. But you can see we're not seeing some of these commodity prices come down to the levels that we saw in the past. Let's look at, I think this is coffee. These are mystics or something here, but you can see the overall trend over the last couple of decades here has been up. Let's see, do I have another one here? This is corn. Okay, again, same thing with corn here. We're not seeing, the lows that we saw earlier in the 2000s back into the 90s. So just an interesting pattern to take note of. I do think these are coming in pretty soon. Maybe we'll take a look at these more in depth later in another episode. But I do think these are going to be coming in, a lot of these commodities, into buying areas. You see a lot of these have corrected pretty well here. So, but let me go back to silver here. And now we're going to go to the weekly chart. So after our wave 5 high here, you can see we did correct back to the wave 4 DP. That's what that's very typical. We anticipate a correction back to this level at a minimum, and if they take this level out, then we'd go back to the bottom of wave 1 or the start of that sequence. We'd take a DP off of that, and that would be the next target here. We also noted, remember that we've got each swing high here since 2011 now has been a lower swing high, including this last one here. So we had this kind of larger descending triangle, and now we've got this smaller descending triangle in here. We also had this little swing in here. It was a little wave 4. And I'll project wave 5 down here. So because we failed to make a new swing high, that wave 5 target off of this pattern is still in play. So that's around 1760, we'll call it. Okay, that's down, it's the minimum target there, around 1750, 1760 level. So we close around, what, 1950? All right, we'll see if we can get back below 19. If we can, I think if we get down to this, in fact, I think silver probably will be, maybe even before, if it gets down. It's getting close, maybe a few days away, a few selling days away from probably getting a bounce. But we'll see. I think if we start getting below 1940, it may, get a bounce in that area. So we'll see. If it does bounce in that area, if it makes another run, again, we've got to see a new swing high unfold. I do think it's potentially, or has the potential of becoming a new bull market here. Just haven't seen everything that we need to see yet. Maybe just a test or retest of these lows, and then a break of one of these prior swing highs here, and then higher highs, or I'm sorry, higher lows subsequent to that. So we'll see. These I'm taking as buying opportunities as we get, especially if we can get below 19. Would like to finish out my purchases of the physical silver. If we get, and of course if we get down, I'll save some for in case we get down to that 1750 level. Alright, I just saw the dollar Swiss franc here. This was on a nice buy signal back here. It's reached that target. Now it's pulled back here. This is a potential wave 4. We'll see how this unfolds. If we've got a neutral candle here, we'd need to see a blue buyer's candle in here where buyers are overcoming sellers, and then we could project up the wave 5 target. So we can do that now as this little trade unfolded as a wave 3 high there, pull back into wave 4. Here's the wave 5 targets. So we'll watch that. And finally here, this is the Australian dollar, Japanese yen, and this does track, the S&P. Sometimes it leads. So this is the area where we began to see the sell-off in the in the when I gave the decision point sell signal on the ES, and I was able to actually short this as kind of a proxy for the ES, and I shorted it right in the DP here in this particular area. Now the sell came all the way into the opposite DP here, where we found on a buy signal here. You can see the target here for this particular trade, but I actually did short this again in here. If we go down to the smaller time frame here, let's go to the 60-minute chart here for a second. So what I was seeing on the 60-minute chart is we had a 5-wave pattern up here. Here's the 60-minute wave for DP. Alright, I went to the 15-minute chart. Okay, which this was also 5 waves up on the 15-minute chart, and I sold in here. Now I was on the 15-minute chart and I took profit here, but you can see that thing really got going to the downside all the way into the 60-minute wave for DP. So I probably should have held that one, but actually I take that back. I got that off the wave 1 DP. I'm sorry, I just thought that looked a little small. I took this. I did a little better than this. This I held because this was the wave 4 DP, and figuring they were going to take this out and erase this whole 5-wave pattern up. Well, they did that, so I get out here, but they also followed through right through down to the 60-minute wave 4 DP. So not a bad trade there, but probably should have held it. But hindsight is, it was a nice trade nonetheless. And basically this mirrored the big drop in the S&P on Friday before it also recovered. If we go back to the 15-minute chart of the S&P. Okay, so you can see how that mirrored the drop in the S&P before the S&P recovered also, once it found support. Anyway, we'll wrap it up here. Hope that's helpful. We'll be back next week and we'll see how things unfold. Just keep in mind next or this week we'll have that's not a real heavy news. It gets really light after Thursday. I think there's really nothing coming out Friday, but you got the CPI and housing Tuesday. FOMC minutes, which can be a market mover, will be on Wednesday at 2 p.m. and then jobless claims, of course, Thursday. Philly Fed and existing home sales. So keep an eye on those. Those are potential market movers. And if you want, you can follow me on TradingView. If I pull this up here, this is tradingview.com, and some of the charts we looked at, this is my profile here. You can just search me up there, MTPredictor USA. But some of those charts that we were looking at, I posted here as they were happening. So here's this particular trade in the Australian dollar Japanese yen. This was the one I shorted up here in the DP, but later the TS4 set up, so I posted this one as another opportunity here, and you can see as I load the new bars here what happened subsequent to the signal, and you can see that went down right to the target there, which acts now as support, and then we've gotten that rally back up there. So check, this is a nice platform you can use for free. You can add our indicators to the TradingView charts now for $125 a month. So it's a nice addition to our, and it's a web-based platform, so you can have it on the go with you, with your phone, with your tablet. So check that out. I'll be posting more stuff as I come across interesting stuff or trade setups. All right, so have a good week. We'll see you next week.